When I first started playing guitar, my dad was especially excited. And though all of us deeply love this instrument, I have a feeling it meant a little bit more to his generation. Even before my first lesson, he was telling me all about the recording techniques used on Led Zeppelin II, about this lesser-known Irish bluesman named Rory Gallagher. He'd fondly recall seeing Santana blow everyone's minds at the old Winnipeg Arena. The more I talked to him about music, the more I realized that the biggest cultural icons of his time all carried guitars. So all the artists that he would rave about, I went and checked out on my own. There was one specific performance I'd heard about over and over again. Jimi Hendrix's rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner at Woodstock 1969. I was waiting to check this one out, saving it because I'd heard that it was one of the greatest guitar moments of all time. I downloaded a recording on Napster, queued it up, plugged in my headphones, listened to it all the way through, and thought to myself, I don't get it. To me, it sounded like the Star-Spangled Banner jumbled up with a bunch of noise. Why does anyone care about this at all, let alone hold it in such high acclaim, a young 13-year-old me thought to himself? As a Canadian, I can't truly say I understand the relationship America has with its national anthem. Our countries are similar and deeply intertwined, but not without our differences. The way we treat patriotism being one of them. Recently, like everyone else, I've seen how one song can highlight a divide in a nation, which again got me thinking about Hendrix's classic rendition of the anthem. While I'm no historian, merely a musician, I've got a couple more years under my belt, and I think I can see why this was such a powerful moment. Let's take a quick second to set the stage. It's 1969, and America is in the middle of fighting the Vietnam War. Sometimes referred to as the first televised war, the horrendous realities of this conflict were broadcast across the states. This, among other reasons, created a large part of the population vehemently opposed to the war. Back then, the racially segregating Jim Crow laws in the southern states had only recently stopped being enforced. On top of that, the civil rights movement was fresh on everyone's mind. JFK was assassinated only 6 short years before, and the staunch Republican Richard Nixon held office. To say there was some tension in the US is a bit of an understatement. Out of this turmoil, a movement swept across the country. The young, anti-war, counterculture, long-haired beatniks would become known as the hippies. In August of 1969, hundreds of thousands of them gathered at a farm in Bethel, New York for the Woodstock Music and Arts Festival. Jimi Hendrix was scheduled to close it out. At the time, Hendrix was firmly established in the music world, having already released the only 3 studio albums he ever would. So here you have one of the biggest names at the time taking stage at one of the biggest music gatherings of all time. His set was delayed, and by the time he finally performed, only about 40,000 people and a camera crew had stuck around. Jimmy was nearing the end of his set when 13 songs in, he played the Star-Spangled Banner. If you've never seen it, hit pause, go watch it now, I'll put a link up there to it. Alright, welcome back, hope you enjoyed it. Festival goer Roz Payne describes the experience. Everything seemed to stop. Before that, if someone had played the Star-Spangled Banner, we would have booed. After that, it became our song. Al Aronowitz, pop critic for the New York Post, said, "It was the most electrifying moment of Woodstock, and it was probably the single greatest moment of the 60s. You finally heard what the song was about, that you can love your country but hate the government." Powerful stuff. Upon first listen, like I said earlier, it sounded like a bunch of noise to me. But the noise is meant to convey the sounds of war. Through his 6-string theatrics, Jimmy emulated the sounds of sirens, children crying, tanks rolling, bombs falling. At one point, he quotes the melody of taps, the bugle call played at military funerals. What does it mean to have those things intertwined with the anthem? Is it disrespectful to put such a unique spin on it? One of the things that makes this so impactful is that, like any other great piece of art, it inspires deeper thought and discussion. Throughout history, very few other instrumentals have made this type of statement, especially on such a large stage. Hendrix's Star-Spangled Banner shouldn't be listened to as a song, rather art that transcends music. No other guitar performance can be seen as such a powerful yet peaceful protest. Though this wasn't the first time he performed the anthem this way, it was special for those in attendance and was captured in the Woodstock film that would go on to be seen by millions. Hendrix's intentions, political or not, were only ever known by Jimmy himself. He did say at a press conference soon after, when asked about that performance, "We're all Americans. It was like, go America. We play it the way the air is in America today. The air is slightly static, see? We can analyze the song all we want, but one thing is for sure. It was the defining moment of a generation and became an anti-establishment rally cry." It should be mentioned that while Jimi Hendrix was at one point enlisted in the army, and earlier in his Woodstock Woodstock set, he did pay tribute to the troops. He was an outspoken proponent of peace and love. And I'm sure somewhere out there, some grumpy old man saw an interview of his and mumbled at his TV, "Stick to playing guitar, you dirty hippie, leave politics to the politicians." It's funny to think that that is exactly what he did, and he was still able to make a statement. The Vietnam War ended in 1975, and it would be absurd to say that Jimmy was responsible. But history doesn't view this war kindly. There's that famous saying that those that fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it. The cultural movement of the 60s, the art and music reminds us of that. So say what you want about Jimi Hendrix's Star-Spangled Banner. My point here is not to say he was right, wrong, or what he meant by it, but rather to point out the power that one man and an electric guitar can truly have. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. My content is made possible by the people who support me through Patreon. It's a crowdfunding platform that helps creators like me do what we do. Through it, I offer a number of unique rewards. Please consider hitting that link over there and checking it out. Thank you all again. I'm Samurai Guitarist, and I will see you soon.